Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Svelte Radio. Today, we're going to discuss what's happened in Svelte these last few weeks, maybe months. But first, some introductions. I'm Kevin. I run Svelte School. I'm heavily involved in the Svelte community. And yeah, that's me.
Hey, everyone. I'm Shawn. I work at AWS, and I mostly should post on Twitter. That's my job.
Hey, I'm Antony. I'm a maintainer of Svelte, and I am the CTO of Bionk.
Nice. And today we're joined by none other than...
Hi, I'm Karine, and I work at Seneca in France, and I'm the co-organizer of Svelte Society Day France.
Awesome.
Woo! Welcome.
And you have a cool Discord name as well.
K6. What is K6?
Oh, it's just because Karine is 6 letters and K6 is shorter.
It's the I18N thing, right? It's Kubernetes.
Yeah.
Numeronym. There's a term for that. Numeronym.
I see.
Oh, I did not know that.
Wow.
For those who may not know, actually, so Karine basically organized Svelte Society Day. You run Svelte Society France, and it was just like a beginning to end. I wasn't sure if like Svelte was ready for like a non-English conference, but you just did it, and then you got so many submissions. You even got Rich to say some French.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun.
A very memorable moment. That's been recorded.
Oh, right. You can see that online, right?
Yeah, on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a French community. I think Schneider Electric, that guy was speaking in French. Then there was like the newspaper, like, was it Les Echos?
Yes, Les Echos, right. Yes. And they do lots of infographics papers. Some of them are powered with Svelte animation, I think. There's also Radio France, which is the broadcaster of many different radios, and they use Svelte in some part. And they have a very... I just tweeted recently an article by their tech lead, and they have a very interesting and modern stack, including Svelte.
Wow. I mean, Radio France have clearly sort of got their inspiration from Svelte Radio. I mean, the name's almost the same, right?
Obviously.
It's cool.
Speaking of Svelte, what's new with Svelte lately? Anyone know?
There's some versions.
Exciting.
Well, so we've definitely started publishing a newsletter. I don't know exactly who's involved in that, but somebody sort of started publishing announcements, because I think we mentioned on here that we never announce any new features. We just kind of roll them out, and it's good to sort of get a bit of notice and traction around the versions. So there is now a newsletter. I'm terrible because I don't know where it lives or how to see it, but it's probably on the blog.
It's on the blog.
Right, it's on the Svelte blog, which was abandoned for a long time, but it's on there.
It lives again.
So I suspect this is like so svelte.dev/blog. The thing about this newsletter is that there's no place to sign up. So I don't know what kind of newsletter has no sign up.
It's like a blog, a news blog. You can't syndicate it either, right?
I don't see an RSS. Yeah,
there's no RSS.
Unsubscribable.
Yeah. Okay.
It's to encourage you to go to the site.
If you want to contribute to Svelte, you know what to do.
Yeah, that'd be a very good first thing, actually, because this is stored as a bunch of markdowns, so there's no reason this can't be syndicated pretty easily. But yeah, so new feature wise, I mean everyone's sort of focused on SvelteKit right now, but in the background there are some new features going into Svelte itself.
I think we've had a number of like smaller point releases, right?
Yeah,
with some new features like props, REST props, and custom web components is one of them.
And I think there's just some syntactic sugar around the promise, like the await syntax, just to keep your code kind of a bit cleaner. I'm still not a fan putting await in your template. It doesn't sit well with me. But for those who use it, I guess it's really kind of a terse way of just making sure your data's ready and then pumping it out to the page. So this is good. Yeah, it's good that that's getting some love.
Some other stuff as well.
I should mention, Karine has in the chat. You can speak up, Karine. I think you found the sign up link.
Yes, I think it's svelte.substack.com, and there you have the sign up for the newsletter, and
that's a different
one. A very clever link to. It's a different one. Okay,
it is the same, but like I guess you kind of want an official sign up thing, because this is run by the guy that writes it, I think,
Okay.
which is fine, I suppose.
It's good enough. Better than
Oh, okay.
us maintaining the separate mailing list.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's nice. This is more than I knew about it, to be honest.
So now, Antony, you can subscribe. No more excuses.
Now know what's going on, which should be really useful.
I'm just very keen on email capture. I'm like, the next conference that we do, we need to have emails.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Activate people. All right. So I guess maybe the one surprise, because I haven't seen this before, the one surprise I had was Rollup plugin Svelte removed the CSS option. Usually
It did.
This is surprising. Why?
It's not a question I can answer. Again, I didn't work on that plugin. I think no, I don't know. But yes, I know that you have to specify a specific CSS plugin for it now. It's caught a couple of people out because they're just sort of upgrading major versions without realizing that. It caught me out when I was trying to diagnose another bug. But yes, that's the case. There'll be a bug somewhere that tells you exactly why it's been done.
Yeah,
There's been quite a few changes on that.
Apparently, it was discussed in Discord, and so it's PR number 147 on Rollup plugin Svelte, and they just want to handle CSS within Rollup. So cool. All right, fair enough. Some cosmetic changes. I mean, I often been thinking about how Svelte and Tailwind is a little bit hard to set up. I've often been thinking about adapting or forking the Rollup or Webpack loader and just incorporating it by default so that it would be zero setup. I don't know if I haven't needed it. I mean, when I start my next Svelte project, I'll probably do that. But if anyone else wants to steal the idea, please be my guest.
Isn't that kind of what SvelteKit is sort of doing?
We're not baking in post CSS and stuff like that.
Oh,
so.
no, but like the no build, or sorry, no setup stuff. I mean, speaking of SvelteKit.
Speaking of SvelteKit, so
what's new?
I can tell you kind of what's going on literally right now as we speak. So in terms of what I've been doing, I've been working on the Vercel and the Begin plugins, the adapters. So those are now, Vercel works really well. The Begin one doesn't quite serve static assets yet, but it will do very soon when because they're being very helpful. Both these providers have their people on our Discord, and we're on their Slacks and stuff, and they're collaborating with us because they're really eager to make everything a first-class citizen. So I think both Begin and Vercel will have baked-in support for SvelteKit, and it'll be a matter of just pushing it and it works, rather than the kind of custom community-driven adapters and things like that. So that's pretty exciting. They're both big fans of it. The Netlify adapter has been rewritten as well. So what happened with adapters as a whole was they went from a kind of a more manual process of taking the Snowpack output and compiling bits of it, building a manifest, wiring that up into a format that each type of provider could use, such as like a Lambda. One day, Rich came along and simplified the whole thing, and now there's like a builder which just has a bunch of methods you can call, like 4 methods, one for static files, one for client files, one for SSR content, and they will just basically provide you all of this stuff as a file system you can then drop in the right place, and then you have a Lambda to serve it. So adapters got radically simpler, which should mean that people building their own can do it in, I don't know, you probably do it in less than an hour maybe, depending on how well you know the host you're going for. So that's pretty exciting. You won't need any specific knowledge. The API is pretty verbose and straightforward language-wise. In terms of the application, like SvelteKit itself, it's just getting more and more polished. So obviously it started out as a bit of a prototype. It's now becoming very much a like for Sapper. We're having some discussions around testing strategies and perhaps making testing a first-class citizen. So we've in the past kind of shied away from it a bit because we don't want to enforce a specific testing methodology or bless something like Cypress or QA Wolf or any of these other providers or libraries, because it kind of puts us in a position where we're advertising something without really having any say over it. But what we're going to do is provide a way to make it a one-step journey. When you want to write tests, it's not like, well, you can test it, that's that. It's more, go and look at these. Here's some suggestions. Here's some options. One interesting thing that happened was from the actual code base itself of SvelteKit, TypeScript was removed entirely, not for the supporting on the outside, but removed from the code itself. And the reason that happened was because when we're prototyping, mostly when Rich is prototyping actually, the types kind of become more of a hindrance than a help. It's like, you wouldn't write a prototype and then cover it in unit tests because it can get in the way. So the plan is now, if we release this into the public domain at some point soon, people might be shocked, where's all the TypeScript gone kind of thing. But what's actually going to happen is We're going to add it in afterwards when the API is more stable. And then we're going to have, all the types available to make developing on it really, simple and exciting. So yeah, there's a few things that have gone on, a few things more controversial than others. What else has happened? It's one of those things that sort of every day I wake up and everything's changed. So it's still a bit like that. Yeah, there's nothing else that I can sort of say that I've been absolutely all over. Yeah, and we're having discussions about CSS, so that's good. And there's also discussion about image processing, whether we provide a plugin or not sure. But Snowpack can do this sort of stuff, so it's possible that maybe there's a chance that there'll be a sort of guide to say, install the Snowpack plugin, and there you go, you can process images.
Cool. So that's SvelteKit. What's happening in the community? Like, did you guys see the website by the Hyperlab guys? It's like they made an e-commerce site with some...
Crown framework.
The Swedish historic brand of clothing.
Yeah, exactly. I actually go onto the website sometimes to just experience the speediness and snappiness of it.
It is really nice. It is a really nice site. Actually, on that subject, I used they've written an error boundary component. It's something that actually I think personally I'd like to see added into Svelte, but essentially a way of demarcating an area of your page or component where any errors thrown are caught and you can handle them independently of everything else. They won't bubble up and break the whole site. It's a bit of a monkey patch at the moment. It sort of goes in and changes internals, and it might not work the same way forever and ever and ever, but it's definitely a good indicator of how it can be done, and it does work. About to start using it in production, so fingers crossed, wish me luck.
Cool.
But that's
nice.
That's come out of Crown Framework, so that's pretty cool.
Well, I was wondering, we are several people wondering how people can contribute to SvelteKit, the core SvelteKit, and how do you maybe screen people? Is there a process, or how does that happen? Who's contributing?
So I guess the main contributor right now is Rich. It turns out that the way that works best for Svelte and has historically is that Rich goes away, squirrels away and does something and then comes out with a product. And then people jump on afterwards. That's kind of happened. It's difficult to get a lot of people around something when it's in such an early stage with a lot of movement. I'm doing adapters because they're quite isolated and separate from the rest of the code base. And people are contributing various things. So Ben was looking at the TypeScript stuff. He's doing all the build tooling, things like that. There's lots of other contributors, but the core is mostly Svelte maintainers. The reason being that with probably like 16 of us, 20 of us right now, with just those opinions, it's very hard to come to consensus on stuff. If we then throw in the whole community, it gets really hard to come to consensus, and the whole thing could grind to a halt. So I think until something foundational is there, it will be kind of private, hopefully not for too much longer. The other thing we've done is we have added some contributors from other projects. So you asked how outsiders can get in and contribute. We've added contributors from projects like, all the kind of projects doing similar things. So Spiked, for example, Elder.js, for example. Anyone with ideas about how something fundamental would work and who already has an implementation of it was invited to come and get on board and join in because they can provide that sort of the insights they've already gained. Outside of that, we've got people from the cell, Begin. They have access to the code and they're able to review it. That's mostly to make sure that we're doing things that are sane when trying to integrate with their platforms. Apart from that, there's pretty much there's no one else. There's no one else from outside who's contributing just yet. There's a bunch of people trying it out eagerly and being very confused at why it changes day to day. But yeah, so the idea is to go into a sort of an alpha stage soon where we'll open up the repository, the source code, I guess, and then have some maybe installation instructions. And then on top of that, we'll have a repository that just handles issues that isn't the main repository, so that people can log and triage things that are affecting them. These will then be filtered and raised in the main repository where we can handle them. Hopefully that period won't last for too long. It'll just be some ironing out some basic issues, and then we'll have the kind of proper open public beta where everyone can jump in and get involved and contribute. And I'm sure we'll have 1 million adapters for everything under the sun very, very quickly.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you planning on maybe having some kind of guidelines, or I remember back then when I was working on Rails, Ruby on Rails, they had that doctrine that was like the 10 commandments of Rails that guides you from what you will do and what you won't do, what you're willing to compromise on. And
That's a good idea. We don't have anything like that. Traditionally, we're very, very bad at providing contributing guidelines. If somebody wants to provide these, that's fantastic. We definitely would like to have that. I think we need it even internally in the maintainers, because Svelte is in that position where it is actually quite a complex concept. It's doing something that not a lot of other frameworks are doing, and it makes things a lot harder. And even within the maintainers, there's not a huge spread of knowledge. There's a bunch of people who know certain areas. So it's definitely something we'd want to have. We just don't have it as yet. So yeah, that's a good way to contribute there. Hey, I suppose it's
usually
difficult.
goes with. I have the impression that it is a very opinionated language or framework. I don't know which term defines it best, but it's really at the image of Rich, actually, who is someone very opinionated, and so usually, yeah, there are probably some boundaries that you don't want to be crossed sometimes.
There probably are, but I think the word boundaries is in itself maybe a bit anti-Rich, because if you talk to Rich, what he'll say is, don't try and confine yourself to boundaries, think outside the box, and that's how you come up with great ideas. Everything that he does that's kind of against conventions, sticking things in node modules that aren't from NPM, for example, that sort of thing, those are not within any boundaries. So I think you'd actually invite people to come and give their own opinions and views on things. Obviously, people open PRs and things get merged, and things don't make sense or wouldn't be good are just not going to get merged, and they'll get a lot of feedback saying this probably won't work because of X and Y. But I think any contributing guidelines given would be more along the lines of where to find things, what to get going with, what's easy, what's hard, why things are done in a certain way. And I think you could reverse that maybe by saying, as somebody who wants to contribute, what would you be concerned about? What would you want to know? And from that, maybe we can build contributing guidelines based upon what we know of, how it is.
I should probably also mention that you don't have to contribute to Svelte core. You can also contribute in other ways, like organizing meetups.
Or the Svelte Society website. We got some PRs, right?
Yeah. We got a PR from MacFJA on GitHub. I don't know their real name, but yeah, we now have a working components filter search thing on the SvelteSociety.dev.
Nice.
And we need more recipes. All of us are just volunteering time, but it's one way to demonstrate that you collaborate and are interested in Svelte. And I think that's one way to give back to the community. You can answer questions on Discord. There's questions, Stack Overflow as well. I'm not sure if people are actually searching on Stack Overflow, but definitely people are asking questions for sure, and they need to be answered.
All right. So this is going to be a pretty short episode this time.
I have a couple more announcements. I don't know if we're wrapping up. So the Svelte jobs account came back alive. I think Noah Glazer from San Francisco is running it. So he's doing a meetup on December 9th at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And you can sign up on the Svelte jobs account, I guess. Just look for Svelte Society Bay Area by Noah Glazer. And then the other announcement that we should probably mention is that the State of JavaScript survey is going on. So obviously, we're not telling you what to vote for. But if you're listening to this, we would like your opinion to be heard. So you can head to stateofjs.com. Particularly, this kind of survey has historically been overrepresented by people who are extremely online. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're on Twitter a lot, or if you're on Discord, you're probably extremely online. There are a lot of developers who are not represented because they just do their jobs and they don't really engage that much on online communities. So it'd be great to reach them. And stateofjs.com is the link there.
Cool.
I've done it already. Yay.
You have a pick? What?
Oh, we're doing picks. Let's do picks.
We're doing picks.
I'll start. Okay.
I got this new tablet today. It's called a Remarkable tablet.
Oh, that's like $200, right?
Oh, no. More like
Something.
400, I think.
Wow. Okay.
It's like an e-reader, but instead of reading, you do writing on it, and like converts text, and you can annotate on top of PDFs and stuff. It's pretty neat.
Do you draw, or do you do diagrams? What do you actually use it for?
So I just got it today, so I haven't really been using it much, but from the little I've done, I've done some annotations on PDFs, pretty much highlighting stuff or arrows. You can draw on it as well.
It's very cool. I'm thinking of asking one for Christmas, but not sure Santa can afford it.
Yeah, the wait list is huge. So I ordered it back in like 3 months ago.
Wow.
And I just got it. Yeah. It is.
I can go while the rest of you think about your picks. I'm going to pick The Mandalorian. It's so good. And it's, for those who don't know, it takes place, it's a Star Wars TV show made by Disney Plus. And they're releasing it weekly. So it's not like the Netflix style dump the whole season on you at once. And it's just so great to watch something together with other people and just like speculate about what's going on. I'll try not to spoil anything, but it's taking place after the main original trilogy movies. And it's just very well executed, really good action. I run when I watch it. I don't even feel like I'm running. I just get a good 30 to 45 minutes of exercise just watching it. And it's one of the best TV shows I've seen.
I'm going to have to watch that. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it is good. It is good.
And the soundtrack, oh my God, so good.
And the technical side as well. Have you seen the documentary?
Yeah.
I'm going to go, because I've got to pick, again, in tradition, I'm going to pick something weird. So it's something I don't actually own. It's something I want to own, and I've spent a lot of time studying it, and I hopefully will own soon. And it's the Asus PN50 bare bones computer. It's like a tiny little desktop computer that runs a AMD Ryzen processor. So I'm a massive fan of ARM processors. I really, really want an M1, but I really, really don't want to run OS X. I'm a staunch Linux user, and I will not be changed. So I'm going to be sort of stuck for ARM, apart from my Chromebooks and stuff, for quite a while yet. So I'm going to buy this bare bones PC with a really fast processor in it. And hopefully it will alleviate my problems where I can either podcast, code, or use Discord at one time, because my machine has got 8 gigs of RAM and it runs out of power pretty quickly. So yeah, my pick is going to be that machine, and hopefully in a future podcast I'll be able to tell you how great it is.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly cheap. It probably comes in at about 300 quid. So what's that?
So that's cheaper than my tablet then.
Yeah. I mean, it's that cheap. You don't get memory with it or an SSD, but I mean, those things are cheap, and probably people already have an SSD anyway. And memory's another 100 quid or something. So again, you're spending probably half what you might spend on a laptop, and it seems to be very, very, very fast. So looking forward to that as a new dev machine.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Karine, do you have a pick?
Well, yes. I it's been a long time since I've watched a TV show on Netflix, and the last one I saw I liked it a lot. It's The Queen's Gambit. You probably came across that one because it's really very popular. Well, I could watch it because it's quite short. It's only 7 episodes, and that's the story of that badass chess player, and the woman, a woman that plays chess at a very high level, and it takes place in the 60s and the 70s, and well, the story is nice. You can really get into it without knowing anything about chess. And I think there was a publication stating the influence in that series on the record sales of chess boards right after it was released. And the last point I really loved about the series is the soundtrack, and takes place in the 60s and the 70s, and the colors and the graphic treatment of that series, the vintage settings and the vintage looks. It's really great and refreshing. It was nice. I really liked it.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, an interesting note on that I saw on Twitter last night, actually. They cast a transgender actress as the teacher in the school, just as playing a woman. Just that's it. No problem at all. There was just no furore about it. There was no, special treatment like that. And people thought that was fantastic. Just so natural and great. So that's pretty exciting as well. Kudos to them.
All right. So that's it for this episode of Svelte Radio. Thanks for joining us, Karine.
Thank you very much for having me.
We hope you can join us again for a longer episode, maybe in the future. But yeah, goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.